Hey, in this video, I'm going to show you how I've structured my business such that I spend about an hour to 2 hours a week on actual client work, things like receiving emails, sending off to my team, coaching and training some individual project stuff. And the rest of my time, I spend it working on emotional labor, learning new things, strategic level stuff, making mistakes, trying new stuff basically in order to forward the progression of my business. So as they say, don't work in the business, work on the business. I'm going to show you how to get to that stage. So there's 3 levels of types of work that we can do. And at the bottom is going to be chores and tasks. So these are things that we have to do that don't push the needle forward. So things like even doing taxes, it's not really client facing. If you don't do it, you're gonna get in a bit of trouble. So it's a bit of a chore and a task to do. And then all the way to things like client work, where if they come and they need a website, all the decisions that need to go on there to make a website, these fall into chores and tasks. What characterizes chores and tasks, it's typically solved. We know how to do it best. You can train someone else to do it for you. Whereas at the top of the levels, this is the work that is exclusive to you, that only the decision maker can be doing, or at least when I say decision maker, I mean the leadership, because as you'll see, we'll need to push decision making downwards. Yeah, so that's going to be exclusive to you, but these are things that are solved that you can train people how to do. All right, and one step above it is going to be outsourced. So now we take a step, we add another thing to our plate to do. Instead of just the chores and tasks, we add all the work that is involved with doing outsourcing stuff. So hiring, training, creating manuals, SOPs, all this stuff falls into outsource. So as you don't want to get into a position where you're overwhelmed with so much chores and tasks that you can't work on this outsourcing stuff, because this is going to be crucial to getting you to the third level, which is going to be emotional labor. So emotional labor is the realm of the unsolved. It's where we go out, make mistakes, try new stuff, take the blame, be criticized. These are all emotional labor work. And this is what actually pushes the business forward, gets us innovating, doing things that the industry hasn't seen before. And we want to make sure that we can free up our time from chores and tasks as soon as possible so that we can put most of our time into emotional labor. All right, so when it comes to actual chores and tasks and getting to outsourcing, this is where I'm gonna be primarily looking at right now. When I say outsourcing, I don't mean like we are going to ship all our work overseas to somewhere else, although you can do that. What I mean by outsourcing is like you as an individual, just basically leaving it up to someone else to do. So it could be someone in-house in your team, in the States with you. We could still consider that outsourcing. Okay, so the framework that we're going to follow to first get rid of this from your plate is going to be to eliminate, automate, and then delegate. So I see a lot of business owners jump immediately to delegation, which is great in the short term. You don't think it's going to happen again. It's a quick way to get it off your plate so you can focus on what you consider the important stuff. But the problem is that it creates so much mess downstream within your teams that I really don't recommend you just delegate stuff haphazardly. Excuse me. It's incredibly disrespectful to the people who just get stuff piled onto them. I've worked for companies and, as a freelancer and stuff, and I've had things delegated to me, and trust me, it's not a good feeling. And also it creates a lot of mess. Delegation just becomes it becomes a way of solving problems to that business owner now. So whenever he runs into a problem, he won't go through the elimination and automation steps. He'll just go straight to delegation. So it becomes a very quick shortcut to shove problems under the rug, without addressing it properly first. All right, so from chores and tasks, we need to get these tasks or chores and tasks outsourced. We need to get someone else to do it. But before we go into doing this and going straight to delegation, first thing, can we eliminate this chore and tasks? And understanding when you can eliminate stuff, a lot of it can be trial and error. A lot of it can be just understanding that this isn't necessary anymore. Or when you change strategies, like you see the landscape shifting and you realize that, okay, this isn't something we need to invest in anymore. For whatever reason it is, there's plenty of chores and tasks that you could probably find that you could eliminate, that you can just totally get rid of, have your team stop doing, you yourself stop doing, because it might not have the actual value to the people you choose to serve as the amount of time and effort and energy that and the investment required to actually deliver that. So if you can identify those things, just eliminate it. It's not going to have a positive impact. It's costing you a lot, so why keep doing it? And why delegate it to someone who is going to do it? And they're smart too, trust me. Like, I've worked with entry-level people. I've hired people with like no experience, but these are still people and they have brains just like ours, and they're able to see a lot of the times that the work that we're handing them is kind of useless. And when that happens, that's where demotivation comes from. They lose their sense of purpose and so on and so forth. Anyway, after we eliminate stuff, then we go on and ask, can we automate this thing? So a lot of tasks are surprisingly there's a lot of solutions to automate things. So think of, is it recurring? Is it like, are the steps to accomplishing that thing the same? Then likely there is some sort of automation that exists. Particularly when we look at creating jobs and like roles, they're going to be doing some consistent work. So I'm always looking for my team as well. Like, I'm always saying, can I find some automations for them? And I'm always encouraging them, hey, can you automate your job to make it easier for yourself so you can do less? Because if you do find a way to do that, I'll actually give you a bonus and you'll have to work less and I won't pile more stuff on top of you. You'll make the same amount of money. So there's this big incentive for us to just automate stuff. And what that does is, one, it allows your team to work less so they can do less work yet still make the same amount of money, which is great for them. And also because you remove the human element from that step, the automation becomes much more scalable. It becomes less prone to error. So always look for automation. And when you can automate it, then again, you don't have to delegate. You don't have to create more mess downstream. All right, and let's say you have a chore and task, you really can't eliminate it, you really can't automate it, then you move to delegation. And one quick note about automation, there's so much new technology that comes out on a daily basis that it's really worth going through the biggest recurring activities that you have to engage with as a business, and seeing if there's a way to automate it, if there's something new that's come up this quarter or the next quarter, because it's really surprising. AI tools are very good at letting you know what's available out there. Google search, still does a pretty good job. So always be looking for better ways to automate. It's going to help you scale so much. Your team's going to love it. Your clients are going to get better results because it removes the human element. You get the idea. Finally, delegation. Now, delegation is where the bulk of the outsourcing, or not the bulk of it should be eliminated and automated, to be honest. But when it comes to delegation, this is where it trips people up the most. Because delegation has to do with decision making. I think proper delegation has to do with decision making. If we just delegate tasks and we say, hey, do this, and we're just telling them how to do it every time, they're just acting as a proxy for us. And at the end of the day, we're having to make all the decisions. And that hurts scalability a lot. So let's say this is the org chart. This is you. And these are the people who are your direct reports. Let's say you have, 4 of them. What happens here is if you just delegate tasks and have them do stuff, and whenever they run into something new, because the landscape is always changing, You could set like standard operating procedures, checklists for things, and one day the platform changes, or one day how the platform works changes because the market is always changing. If that happens, there's going to be constant need for you to go back and forth with decision making. And at the end of the day, you are the decision maker in the wrong way to do it. You're making everyone's decisions. So as you get more and more people, the number of decisions that you have to make goes up. And there's a lot of things about making decisions. A big one that you should be aware of is called decision fatigue. So when we have to make more and more decisions, our ability to make good decisions drastically gets ineffective. And so with decision, we want to remove as much decision fatigue as possible so that we're not making decisions at this level and all our decisions are going into very clear, like good quality decisions with emotional labor. Carl Icahn, who was he was a corporate raider. He would go and buy businesses, try to like get them to sell at lower value than it was actually worth. He would go and what he would do is when he would go to the negotiating board with the company he was trying to buy out, he would just get them really fatigued. He would get them to stay up late and then he would show up like having slept in and all this stuff just so that they would make worse decisions. You want to remove yourself from this framework because you're going to make some terrible decisions and it's going to really be a ceiling to how far you can grow. Okay, so from here, what we should do instead is we should make each of these people decision makers in their own right. So if you are familiar with any sort of leadership program or leadership, I don't know, even frameworks or books, what they'll always be teaching is that leaders create other leaders. That's what true leadership is. And that's very true in business as well. If you aren't creating people who are able to make their own decisions, then you aren't able to create a system that is resilient. A resilient system has many components that are all working in their own selfish interests, and those selfish interests make that system work. If it's just like the previous framework where it's only you as the decision maker, sorry, just being a little sick. If it's just you as a decision maker, then what happens is the entire system is very fragile because it's dependent on you. If you're sick like me, then your entire system goes kind of out the door. But if you've done the work of creating decision makers at every point, then you don't have to be available all the time. They can be making their own decisions. They understand how to do the things. They not only understand how to do it, but they understand why they do it. They understand the purpose behind it. They understand the roles of each other team member so they can support each other, and they can do their work in a way that's not only like gets the job done for them, but also is in alignment with the other people as well. And the only way you can do that is by if you push decision making down. So you give them autonomy, you give them agency to make their own decisions. And at first, this is very costly because they're going to make a lot of mistakes. They're going to create a lot of mess, but this is part of it. It's like having an infant kid. They're going to go and create mess, but once they mature a bit, now you have another person who's on your side. Same thing here. They're going to make a mess. They're going to create a lot of issues for you, especially at the beginning, but that is part of the process. Like think back to when you first started and how many mistakes and issues that you made. It's just a reflection of that, and you have to allow that to happen in order for them to reach the next stage of maturity, which is when they truly understand what's going on and now they're able to make good decisions on your behalf. Once that happens, now you graduate from the outsourcing level. Here, what's important is you need to get standard operating procedures. That work is only as important for quality assurance and also to get them to understand how everything works. So when you create an SOP, you go into so much detail to the most minuscule details that with our SOPs, there's like an explanation for everything, why each decision is made. And when they can understand all of that, like they start to think like you. They start to get all the insights that you had and then put their own spin on it. And it becomes like really, like I see some of my team members and now they're better than me and now they know way more than me. And they're putting their own spin on things and it's becoming incredible. All right. So once you can push off decision making, again, the worst thing I think an organization could do is when as they scale, to withhold decision making, to keep their nodes, to keep their people in the dark, to keep them separate from each other. I put them as nodes here, but really they're all interconnected here, just like this. And in my organization, everyone is always talking with each other like this. This is kind of like how it looks inside our messaging. And when this happens, you create a lot of resiliency and the decision, when you take decision making away from people, it creates a lot of frustration. It creates a lot of like insight that they have that you no longer have access to because with your limited understanding, you've created a decision that they don't understand. So what's important to do is to delineate who's going to be responsible for which decisions, understand which decisions are going to come up regularly or that are going to be important. And as soon as like you get new decisions that have to be made into your organization, figure out, is that something that's going to be for you or is that something that's going to be for someone else to do in your organization? Send it to them. Later on, when you get like juniors and you have the senior there, like you could have the senior, like just send it to the senior and say like, hey, this is probably for your department, and have them send it off. Now, another like terrible thing you could do is have a single decision. So let's say this isn't a person, let's say this is a decision that has to be made. The worst thing you could do is to have like a committee that's created around it, to have like multiple people in charge of making this one decision when it could have been done by just one of these people or someone else who is maybe one level above them, they're senior. And the reason this is so terrible is this creates an environment. It creates the conditions for deniability, for not taking responsibility, for basically not being the one to mess it up, not taking ownership. Whereas in this model, we're giving someone a specific decision. We're saying that, hey, this is for you to control and own. You own the outcome, you own the results, you own how you're going to do it and all this. It's a very different dynamic. We're experiencing this at one of our organizations. It creates massive lag. No one wants to be the one to make a mistake. No one wants to be the one to step up. It's incredibly frustrating to work with because now I'm trying to like deal with these people, trying to say, hey, can we make a decision on this? And I don't even know who to talk to. So avoid committees unless it becomes a necessity because of workload. But that's a completely different thing, and you should still have a committee head at that point who's in charge of the decisions. All right, so all that, now you're finally outsourced. You have people who are working on your side, helping you with the decisions so that you aren't decision fatigued, so that you can have a clear head to make the best decisions at the emotional labor level. So I hope that makes sense. That's how I'm able to spend about 1 hour to 2 hours a week just working on client stuff. And then the rest of my time is freed up to work on the important stuff, like developing my course, shooting videos like this, getting the word out on this new thing that we're building, all that emotional stuff, the difficult stuff that no one wants to really do, public speaking, making sure that our business is going to last, like what's our business strategy for the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. I think you get the idea. So if you're in a situation where you have a team underneath you or you're looking to get some teams underneath you, first thing I would do is start listing out all the chores and tasks. What are the recurring roles that you have or the recurring activities that you need? Who would be a good fit for that? And then always be practicing this. So what I always practiced at the start was creating SOPs, getting very granular with each step so that when someone came on board, I can show them all the different steps that were involved and they can kind of put their own thought to that. So creating SOPs I found very valuable. Hiring I found very valuable. Whenever I worked with at the beginning, I think I interviewed like maybe 20 people to find one person. And then as I went on, it kind of went into a inverse parabola, where I started off interviewing a lot of people, and then I started interviewing I think for one position I was interviewing like 70 people, and then it dropped off again as I kind of understood what to look for, kind of how to really remove bad fits at the beginning, and then now I'm back to maybe interviewing around 20. Get good at hiring is what I'm trying to say. It's very important. Understanding the different dynamics, the different processes. Finding good hires is going to be probably one of your best leverage points. If you can find someone who makes really good decisions, think of how much it's going to impact everyone else in the system. If you get someone who is just bad at making decisions or is just a bad person in general, it's going to really drag everyone else down as well. And we've certainly had many of those people, and I think now we have like some of the best decision makers ever. But you'll get better at finding those people or figuring out how to quickly get rid of them if you find that those have snuck in, and so on. So always practice also eliminating and automating. So I love elimination. It's one of the quickest ways for me to cut costs. It's one of the quickest ways for me to get my team doing less so that they can enjoy life more, their time more, and then automation as well. I love digging into automations. I'm usually the one doing the automations. I'm usually doing the emotional labor. I ask my team to look for automations as well, but I don't think they're as familiar with that. So one thing I would recommend you to do is get really familiar with how to automate stuff. And there's a lot of stuff you can do without coding these days. There's a lot of pre-built solutions, even Zaps like Zapier and or Zapier, I don't know how it's pronounced, Integrately, there's a lot. Doesn't have to be integrations, but look for automations. And then finally, delegation. When it comes to delegating to your team members now, your new team members, you have to be very clear with what you're looking for. You have to take ownership of all the mistakes that they make. You have to be encouraging. You have to, at every point you ask them to make a decision or that you tell them a decision of your own, you have to explain your process behind it, why you made that decision. That's going to be so important, because if they don't know why you're making these decisions, they're never going to be learning from you. And later on, as you get to delegate more and more after eliminating and automating, your role transforms from that of someone who's commanding people to do stuff. It shouldn't really be like that. It should be, and eventually becomes more of a coach, where you're instructing people, hey, this is how you should approach it. Have you thought of it this way? Have you thought of it this way? What resources do you need? Who can you ask for help? We're just trying to get them to open up their own resourcefulness and own ability to do as a human being, and we're trying to help them unlock it for themselves. So I think I've beaten this pretty much to death, and I think you get the idea. I hope you find this really valuable. If you are working with a small team and you're looking to get to a bigger team, or you don't have a team at all, this is going to be very helpful. Thanks for watching.